We're going to create a Chrome extension with the help of ChatGPT inspired by Momentum, which is a Chrome extension with over 3 million downloads that helps you focus on just one thing. Now, if you're a beginner and completely new to code, this tutorial is also for you because we're going to be relying on ChatGPT to help us build out everything from the structure to the code that underlies the Chrome extension. So there are 3 prerequisites here. The first one is to have VS Code or a different code editor or text edit available for you to use. The second one is we need to have access to ChatGPT. Now, ideally, we would have the ChatGPT 4, which is part of the Plus subscription. And then finally, we also have to have Google Chrome installed. Getting access to the full video on YouTube and also the GitHub repo where the full code is for you to browse. We've got a link in the description. Okay, first up, let's check out what we're going to be building. And that's going to be a Chrome extension similar to Momentum. So Momentum is a Chrome extension. When you open a new tab, it displays the time and it gives you a place to put what you're focused on today with some pretty cool background images. And so you see it's good afternoon. There's an inspirational quote at the bottom. The only way to do great work is to love the work you do. And then there's all this other stuff around the top, search features with Bing and focus mode, timers, and it gets a bit, I feel like it's a bit too crowded, whereas I prefer just to have really just the main goal for today. I already know what the time is. It's interesting, there's these other kind of Momentum Plus features, deep work timer, Pomodoro timer, etc., etc. So our goal for the day is to create a new version of the Momentum plugin that's a little simpler and really just focused on ticking off this main goal for today. Now on to the fun part and what makes our extension tick. We're going to be using ChatGPT to help with all of this. We're going to type into ChatGPT. I want to create a Google Chrome extension that is very similar to Momentum, full stop. It allows me to type in my main focus for the day and will display that for the day until I hit complete. The background of the extension will be interesting images from around the world, comma, and there should be an inspirational quote. The first step is naming this extension. Okay, so we got some suggestions from ChatGPT already about what we should call the extension. Just having a look through here: Goalscapes, Vision Voyage, Daily Horizon, Focus Globe, Vision Voyage. I kind of like the purpose, so motive. No, let's call it Focus Tab. Okay, that's cool. So now we know what we're building. I'm going to show you step by step. I'm going to show you step by step how we're going to create it with the assistance of ChatGPT. All right, so it seems like the first step we're going to do is create the manifest.json. So let's just slow down here. Let's create a new folder. I'm going to create a new folder called Focus Tab. Okay, in Focus Tab, we're going to create a new file called manifest.json as instructed. And we're going to copy in the manifest.json file. And we can see there's some interesting things to note here that we're asking for the storage permissions. We're saying that we're going to provide some default icons for the tool. And then we're going to be overriding this new tab.html. So that, I guess, is going to be the file where we do most of the magic. All right, so what are we doing with popup.html? Popup.html is set for the focus. So I think this is a bit incorrect. So we're going to ignore popup.html for the second because we don't really want to have this be an icon within the Chrome browser like these other tools like Screenshot or Todoist or Pinterest. This is really, we create a new tab, we want to set the focus, and then when we come back to create another new tab, we want to evaluate if we've completed that. We're not really interacting with this to do through pop-ups. So before we kind of go into these other HTML files, let's make sure the manifest.json can be adjusted appropriately. Adjust manifest.json so that the extension only interacts with the user through the new tab, comma. There should be no icon or pop-up interaction for this tool. So I believe we're going to lose all these action tools. Yep, there we go. Action keys and content. So just delete that. But we still have icons for the actual extension. Yes, I know it. ChatGPT agrees that it simplifies the user experience. Okay. So let's just say continue. Okay, so we're being instructed to create new tab.html. So just pasting that in. And then we're going to need a new tab.js, which is going to handle the logic behind the HTML file. Oh, wonderful. And what we've also said here is that there's a free API for inspirational quotes. Who knew? Now, previously we looked at the joke API and it wasn't the best for high quality jokes. So let's just quickly check out these quotes. Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Okay, interesting. And then let's have a quick look at type.fit. This is interesting. Okay, so seems like type.fit is a good place to get hold of these. Okay, seems like that API. So it's kind of cool. ChatGPT's also suggested a free API for us to use to fetch random quotes. However, the extension doesn't have permission to access external URLs directly. Interesting. So perhaps we could either add that permission or just have a large set of inspirational quotes. It's an interesting design choice. And I'm not sure the reliability of this API will be there in the long run. So given the limited space that quotes take up, let's outsource. Let's kind of collect these quotes and keep a database of quotes. Okay, so we've added the event listener for when the page loads. We're setting a new focus by clicking, and then we're going to add this quote display and add more quotes here. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's create a new ChatGPT, and let's go for 3.5 and say, create me a set of inspirational quotes, comma, around 200, comma, based upon the following format. Okay, this seems to be working pretty well. The only caveat I'll say here is we have no guarantee that these quotes are actually accurate or said by the implied author. Okay, so we got 62 apparently quotes, which for our testing purposes, I think is a great start. We can also refine this list later and add more in. Great, so we've got the quotes and we're calling display quote once the page loads. Now let's go back to our previous conversation. And now we're going to set random background images. We can include images or use an API if permissions allow. Let's assume we have background image. Okay, create me an inspirational landscape for use in the extension. 3. All right, so ChatGPT is creating those. If we decide to fetch quotes from an external API, we'll need to adjust the manifest.json to include the necessary permissions. I think I feel like we need to rely on an API for the backgrounds because they're going to bloat the extension quite quickly. So let's add, uh, not just, and the quality of these inspirational background images is somewhat suspect. So let's update our manifest.json to allow us to call external APIs to retrieve background images and quotes in our new tab.js. Okay. And very quickly here, we're going to want to start to open this extension and see what we're getting as a result from it. Oh, interesting. So you have to explicitly state the host of the locations for the APIs we're planning on calling. I guess we want to have active tab here as well. Not sure why we've added that at the moment. Oh, to interact with the active tab, page content. Right, because we are fetching and then changing the new tab.html. Okay, then let's add in host permissions. Okay, so let's add in our quote API first. Pretty happy to leave it explicit with no wildcard or stars here because we're only going to be going to the quote API. And I'm going to say using the triple backticks to indicate it's a code block. Update the following code to query type.fit API to retrieve quotes and display them. All right, so we're going to be using the HTTP GET request in new tab.json. Going to say goodbye to all these beautiful quotes we downloaded. Interesting. Okay, so there's the display quote function to retrieve a quote from the API. What I'm going to do first, though, prior to implementing that, is let's see where we are right now and figure out if the extension is loading properly or not. So let's go to Chrome extensions, and we're going to load an unpacked extension. That's Focus tab and click Select. Okay, so we couldn't load the icons because they don't exist. So let's get rid of icons for now. Okay, nice. Okay, so we can see we're getting this quote up here. And the quote is new. If I say what's my main focus for today, let's say make a YouTube video, set focus. Okay, the focus is set. There's no way to indicate that it's complete and it will stay there forever. This is definitely a logic issue. I just beef up the size of this and see as I refresh it, we're getting a new quote every time. So the extension is working. There's no way to indicate that something is complete, however. Okay, our next step is going to be to add some formatting to Focus tab. As we can see, this is far too small. So our next step is going to be adding some formatting to Focus tab. We can see this is far too small. It's quite a boring page currently, and we haven't loaded in the background image. So let's add a CSS library to improve the overall look and feel of the new tab page. Okay, so we've chosen Tailwind CSS. Yes, this Tailwind seems like we're actually doing. I think Tailwind's a bad choice for this. So let's do. So we can install it by a CDN. So let us just go to these files and download them. We got the minified CSS here. Nice. Focus tab. Bootstrap min CSS. Bootstrap bundle min. Okay, nice. So I've downloaded those files. Okay, and then we're going to add into the head the Bootstrap. All right, and then let's reload Focus tab. Okay, so you can see the fonts change somewhat already, and we've see here, the way it's been updated is, let's do this. It's updated to be the way specified here. So just at the bottom of the body tag, and it's not in the JS folder, it's just in the main folder. I'm going to add this container within the body. Now I don't see the background image here, so we have lost the concept of a background image. Thank you, ChatGPT. But we'll go with it for now. So if you've enjoyed the video so far, please hit like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell. And if you're feeling like it, just hit me up with an emoji in the comments with what you're thinking about the video, or tell me what you're inspired to create. We'll get rid of this extra new tab. Refresh focus tab. Let's see what we get. Okay, that's nice. I think it looks better. But there is actually a Bootstrap example page, examples, and there should be a full page example cover. Here we go, a one-page template. So then we can inspect or view the page source. Why can I not see it? There we go. View page source, and I'll say adjust this template page. Utilize the template page, comma, and update our focus tab new tab.html to utilize the majority of the code provided by Bootstrap. Now I fired that off too early because I was excited. Just going to add this into a code block and then label it template code. And of course, ChatGPT doesn't know what our most recent code was either. Are you serious? Okay. So I have to can't scroll up past the text box. I'm just labeling this as the focus tab code. And so, because I couldn't edit the text there, I'm just hoping that ChatGPT will retain the context that we're trying to update this template code and make our new tab page utilize it. And we can see that it already seems to know what's happening. However, the first problem we can see is it's referencing the CDN. So we're going to be switching that back or deleting that, making sure we keep our style sheet. Okay, now let's see if this really did the magic we're hoping that it will. Taking those scripts, putting them at the bottom. Okay, this is interesting. Would you say that's centered? I think that's pretty centered. And then I don't think we need this header. So let's comment that out for now. Refresh. Okay, so the class, because of its margin bottom auto, is maintaining the center position of the center text. So we'll just keep the header, but we'll hide the contents of it. That's what this margin bottom auto is doing. MB auto means that it's going to automatically change the margin below it. Okay, I'm just looking at this and saying, interesting. So I think we've made some pretty good progress here. We have the focus here. We've got the quote. But this welcome to focus tab should disappear once we have a focus. Okay, so we have a couple of paths here we can take from now. We can improve the interactions and the UI. We could add in the background images through another API, or we could add the quotes in from an API. So let's make the base functionality of the focus work. So I'm going to grab our new tab focus here. I'm just going to copy the relevant code and label it. This is new tab.js, and there's the code for new tab.js, and we're going to add in on new tab.html. I'm going to say Currently, after I type in a focus for the day, comma, there is no way to mark it as complete, full stop. The task just stays there permanently, full stop. Once I've chosen my focus, the welcome text should not be visible again. Okay, so we've added in a .lead function, a .lead class to our welcome text, enabling us to hide it, which we can see here. It already has a class lead, so that's good. We're adding in a complete button, but I think this is almost too. The text is not right for me, really. Okay, so we are appending. So the plan here is we're only appending the complete button if the task hasn't been complete or exists at that point in time. But however, that means that the HTML in our new tab.html, it's not going to be obvious that a button gets added. We've added a flag. Yep, welcome text is hidden. Okay, let's copy this code in to our new tab.js and replace the old focus tab, the old code that was in new tab.js regarding the focus. This is duplicate now. Okay, so we save that. Let's have a quick look. That's interesting. I mean, this is not the UI I would imagine the button should be, but we click complete focus. It draws a line through the make YouTube video. And then when we refresh, we get the main focus for today. And I like this button. This is nice button. Why was that button not there on the other text? So main focus today is complete focus tab extension. Okay, so we can see it's there. We still have this welcome to focus tab. So let's do some manual. Let's do a span here. And we'll call this span. We'll say the span has a class of welcome. And so with our new tab.js, let's find where we reference the lead class. And we'll change this to .welcome because .lead is actually a commonly used class in Bootstrap for other lead text. We refresh this. Okay, so there's our task for today. If anything, that should be as large as the welcome text was. So we're going to change this to a H1. There we go. And then what are we going to do about this giant green button? I'm actually going to switch the quote display to be the bottom two here. The bottom here. There we go. Nice. Okay, so it's now in the muted tone at the bottom here. Complete focus tab extension. And I really want this to be more of a checkbox than this giant button on the right. But it is somewhat working. So let's see what happened there. We clicked the complete button. We crossed out the focus input, but we didn't add the option back to, we didn't add this input group. So I'm going to add a class here called focus input. And I want that to be underneath the completed task, right? And so the focus input should also reappear once we, okay. Let's see here. So input group, let's see. Input group. Okay, so we got this focus. Focus input is referring to focus input. Got it. Okay, so we actually have an ID called focus input, so we don't need to duplicate that. And so when we mark focus as complete, we want to change the display style. We want to add So hitting the complete button and we say focus input style, probably be inline, inline block. Let's refresh. Now, before we submit our extension to the Chrome store, it's important to kind of work through the process, the workflow, and make sure if there's any edge cases we haven't thought of or places where we could improve things, we do so now. Okay, well, let's just take a minute here to open up Freeform and make sure that we have the kind of workflow making sense for our app here. So let's create a new board and let's go through the steps of our app here very simply. So we can have our welcome. We have our welcome step. Then we have the what's your focus. Then we have, let's see here, welcome, what's your focus. How do we zoom out here? So welcome, what's your focus? And then after what's your focus, we have, so imagine we've set the focus. Now we have the kind of pending focus. And then we have focus complete. Nice. So I think that's the steps we have here. Let's kind of join these up visually so we get an idea of the progression. Okay, and then once we have focus complete, we really want to go back to, we'll do this the good old. All right, so then we go from focus complete back to what is your focus. And I think for me, the welcome really is only going to come up one time, right? At the moment, we still have welcome to focus tab up, even though we already know what focus tab is. And this is something that annoys me about Momentum is it keeps saying, welcome to Momentum. So we want to make it so the welcome screen only comes up one time. Let's see anything else about this flow that we want to change. What's your focus? Pending focus. Focus complete. Potentially want some form of congratulations. Congratulate. And we're kind of back. Congratulations. Then back to what is your focus? Nice. I feel like as part of the welcome, we should get to know a little bit. I know Momentum does this, and it's something that I like. But just for a first time user, I really want to get a what's your first name, because then we can personalize all these other steps and become slightly more engaging. Okay, so I like that so far. Let's just run through the flow in this new tab and see if there's anything else we can improve. Okay, welcome to Focus tab. Set your daily focus. Great, we know what it is. So I feel like here we need a get started button. Maybe a let's go. And then for first name, you either have skip, or actually let's not have a skip. People can put in whatever they like there. We should have a skip because I don't necessarily want to make it editable. So skip, or like that's me. Okay, what's your focus? Okay, so let's get started. So imagine we're doing this. Welcome. Okay, let's go. We know what welcome is. That's the only time we'll see it. Then we get what's your name. I type in David. That's me. And now we're on to this. What's your main focus for today? So we're going to keep the UI very minimal here. Potentially we can make this bigger. My main focus for today is to complete recording of the tutorial video. I'm going to set the focus. And then for some reason, this doesn't look like a to-do task. I think we need like a checkbox here, right? But I'm thinking about UI too much now. But anyway, we complete the recording of the tutorial video. At the moment, just thinking about the programmatic flow, functional flow, rather than the UI. So we complete the focus. This is the pending focus. We complete it. There's a done here. And then we need to reset the UI. So reset form. And then it seems the button is also unavailable here. So this is an issue with the functionality. So reset the form. And then what's your focus? And this should be like that again. And I think we should remove for today, because once we've completed it, we've already done our main focus for today. And it should be, what do you want to focus on? So let's just go to, do you want to focus on? Let's make sure it's a single space. Yes, it is. Refresh this. Interesting. What has happened here? Oh, somehow. Okay, break this out of the recording for a second. Or if I leave it in, so be it. Just use a app to clean my desktop of all folders every day. And so we do that. Okay, let's refresh. There we go. Let's redo that edit. Okay, interesting. So what do you want to focus on? Excellent. Let's refresh this. What do you want to focus on? And then let's have set focus. Let's have set my focus. Nice. All right. So I think we've got a kind of functional. We've got a functional form here of things we want to improve functionally about the app. Let's think about the UI and keeping it very simple. Let's do the UI design. Okay. And I'm pretty happy with the way this is positioned. I like the quotes at the bottom. That's working well. I think the UI design, I mean, clearly we're missing this background. So let's just put some, just do a set of to-dos here for the moment. So the background, I think keeping it this style, this font, let's remove that period for style. The style font is generally good. That's the benefit of utilizing Bootstrap. So there we want to set the focus to UI. I think this this look doesn't work. So we can workshop that a bit. See if I can drop this image in here, which I can do. So the pending task page needs a bit of love. And then task completion page is not that inspirational. I'm not getting the dopamine hit right now, and it's not functional. But then if we go back to our setup here, the form would reset, and we would end up with just the way to submit a new focus. All right. So back to which one of these do we hit? Well, I think it's important to get the functional design right first, because otherwise we can't implement all of the UI changes. So I'm gonna see if I can steal this button here and just put it underneath this welcome prompt, and we'll see how that looks. Nice. So we can change this set my focus now to be what do we design it as? Let's go. I'm ready. Let's see how that looks. I'm ready. It looks pretty nice. Of course, this is going to be this focus display. The input group should be by default hidden, or should it? Let's think. So change this button ID to set ready. And then in the JavaScript, we'll have document.add event listener. Click. Welcome text style display. None. Really, this welcome text style display none should be. Okay, so adding an event. Oh, okay. So yeah, got it. So we have set ready button. We're going to define that up here. Set ready button. Set ready. Just double check. Set ready. So on the set ready button click, we're going to set welcome completed to be true. And then think focus completed. So I'm just gonna make sure we get welcome completed when we load up the page. And then if welcome completed is true, then we want to have welcome text style display none. So we hide the welcome text. We don't want the complete button. We want to show I call this class focus inputs. I'm going to say focus inputs.style.display inline block. And we have focus inputs. I'm going to change this all to focus inputs and see how that works. Actually, let's keep that by ID because we want it to be unique. So, okay. And then we also want this to be, and here we say, let's try that out. Okay, great. So we got rid of the first time we come in here, we click I'm ready, and then we should never see that again. However, we have some interesting display options here. So I think this should probably be block. No. Okay. Interesting. I'm just going to debug why this button is now displaying somewhat awkwardly. I'm just going to inspect this element and see what the display property on it is. Okay, so it's block. Yep, not inline block. There we go. Then we should see the welcome text disappear. The focus inputs should always be block. Okay, well, something's happening here that's not intended. So let's head back to here. Click I'm ready. Okay, as soon as I click I'm ready, something goes incorrect with the set ready. Oh, okay. Okay, now we're keeping it. Let's inspect here. The focus inputs. What's the type of display here? It's not display block, it's display flex. Interesting. Okay, so then what we have here is else. We hide the welcome text and this should be flex. Okay, let's try this now. Okay, but we're getting this flash up of the welcome because we're displaying it by default. So we just make the add a style property here, display none. We still got a jump here. If not result, okay. I'm pretty happy with that though. So what do you want to focus on now? Okay, functionality. Okay, got it. So we're gonna deprioritize this because it's not not really essential to what we're doing right now. So I'm just gonna I think we're just gonna switch this out for now. We have other fish to fry. So we have the pending focus, we complete the focus, and then we have lost our form again once we complete the task. So we say focus completed is true. We do a line through. We say focus inputs style display flex. Let's just say UI, set my focus, complete the focus. Yeah, the button is we are hiding the complete button, which we shouldn't be doing. Let's try this again. UI, set my focus, complete focus. Where is this button? Okay, button ID, set focus, display none. Okay, there it is. Complete button, display inline box. Let's see. Okay, we're hiding the button initially. I don't think we need to. Oh, okay, so this is a set focus button. I don't think we need to set the display property to none. Let's try this now. Okay, nice. The complete button decides to stay. Okay, great. So Just gonna delete that line of text. Now let's try again. Okay, today I want to focus on UI. Complete the focus UI. Now it says focus to feed the cat. Now that I've got the US. Okay, but it's already completed. So kind of interesting here. We have this focus completed being set, but in some ways we want to unset it once it's complete because we're trying to create a new focus. So I feel like this should happen in the set focus. So we set, yes, which we do. We set focus to focus completed to false. Okay, so that worked as expected. And then I also want to do, let's go back to ChatGPT. I want the following input to revert to being empty, comma, what is the JavaScript I can use to set the input as empty? So of course this is relying here on ChatGPT, because assuming we don't understand really HTML, basic JavaScript, we're just trying to get this done. Okay, so we see we got this document. So we set dot value equal to an empty string. And so we should have the focus input here. And then we can do focus input on completion. And prior to displaying the focus inputs, we can set the input value to empty. Okay, let's have a quick look at that, which doesn't, let me just refresh. So I want to focus on UI. First of all, I complete that. Now we're empty again, right? And I can say feed the cat. But the one thing we notice is the styling is still strike through. So we want to just change the focus display style text decoration. We want to set it back to none once a focus has been set. All right, complete focus. Back to, let's refresh the page. I'm going to do UI, set the focus, complete the focus, feed the cat, set the focus. And we see it's the pending item here. Then we click complete focus and it's done. So now we're iterating on the, and you can see now we're able to go through multiple loops of the focus complete, of setting a focus and then completing it. Cool. All right, so but how are we going to congratulate? This completion step is great, but how can we add a dopamine hit animation to celebrate the completion of a focus on the user clicking complete? Okay, so we're going for confetti. So we're adding this into the CSS. So I'll just add a new file, confetti.css, saving that. And then we need to import the confetti, or we could inline it here. But let's just add it as a external resource. Then we want to trigger the animation. Okay, so we add back to new tab JS. And where's the complete button? Okay, so theoretically, we should now have a celebration animation. So we're going to do the UI, going to complete it, and okay, how can we make the confetti animation fill the entire screen and be more lively and have the confetti change color? Okay, so now it's suggesting to add an external library. So let's just, we don't want to get too distracted. So we're going to set the focus, complete it. I think that we can, rather than bringing in an external library, we can be satisfied with Ah, confetti there. Cool. So I think that that's the functional design done. Besides having a background, so I think this is our ice box over here. Did come into the UI design. This is our things we would like, but we don't really. It's not core to what we're doing. Pile. So I think the biggest thing on the UI design was this pending task page. Now, are we happy with this button? I don't think so. And also some way to indicate that this is a task. So how can I add a checkbox to the pending task? One thing I'd like to also see is what does this checkbox look like in terms of the UI of it? I was imagining quite a beautiful outline, but I have a feeling the look of it is not going to be so beautiful. So let's just paste it. Okay, I'm not seeing a checkbox. Let's just throw this in here, refreshing. So completed does not look like a checkbox. In fact, it doesn't look like there's any checkbox there. So let's see. Let's go to Bootstrap. Let's go and use Bootstrap. How can we use a checkbox in Bootstrap? Yes. Okay, form check. Okay, so we've got this now, form check. Let's see how it comes up. I'm not convinced by the visuals. Let's see. Maybe what we can do, focus display. Okay. I want to add like an empty square. So focus display inner text is focus plus space. Let's see how that looks. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think the square option will be perfect for this either. Okay, so for inspiration, we get a circle, we put a tick in it, and then we line through, put text decoration in, and we also fade the color. Okay. So I think actually what we will do is we will add in the checkbox. Add in the checkbox before the text. Let's see how that looks. Okay, let's take this into ChatGPT. I want to add an empty checkbox next to the focus display field, which will display the task that is to be completed by the user. Full stop. On the user setting it complete, I want to show a check within the checkbox. However, I want this checkbox to be in line with the text within focus display. Help me figure out the CSS. Okay, let's try this out and see how this works. Okay, and we've got it afterwards. We actually want it before. Let's see if that changes anything. Okay, I like that. And then we really need to add in some spacing there. So I would put, if we got a margin top here being set, let's add a already in line, which is, this is not the best practice. And margin right are the same. Okay. I think we should make it, still make it bigger. Margin right. Let's make it 1. Make it 3. Okay, I like that now. Okay. And then I also want to make it disabled. So it's there, but the user can't click it. So maybe this is it. We ditch the complete focus button in its entirety, which is being dynamically added at the moment. So we say goodbye complete button. Okay, so let's get rid of all our complete button, and we're going to change this to be checkbox. Document is not going to be, we call this completed box. Okay, we've already got an ID assigned to it, so let's use that. Refresh. Okay, that worked. Let's just say I want to focus on UI, set my focus. We get the UI here, I click it, and we should make that checkbox disabled. Okay. And we do checkbox disabled is false once we set the focus. And then we really need some like margin below the focus container. So I'm going to put a class of MB2, which should give us a, okay, got it. Then we want to focus on UI, set my focus, complete my focus. What do we want to do now? Hide the checkbox. And we also need to make it unchecked. Checkbox disabled, checkbox.checked false. And we see that this is, for some reason, we're getting this, this box come up. And let's just go through it. So firstly, we want to get this checkbox hidden. So focus container. If there's a focus and the focus hasn't been completed, otherwise there's no focus, we should do okay, we can't easily hide the container because of its property being so important to the structure of the page. So we're going to, okay, I'm going to focus on the UI, set my focus, and then why is it not here? In the wrong place. Okay, so this is working internally now, but the challenge is when I have a pending task and I refresh the page, this focus comes up. So if there's a focus and the focus is not completed, the focus input style display should be none. The focus should be set focus button style display none. Let's just refresh this. Okay. And this the question is, why is this displaying? This has display flex. Okay. Okay, because if welcome is completed, we display the right. Okay, so it's default to display none. Okay, so you complete the UI. What do we want to focus on now? Feed the cat. Set my focus. Okay, it's there. When I refresh, we still get feed the cat. Complete it. What do I want to focus on now? Got it. And then I am going to now in the console set dot local dot set. Well, let's just clear refresh. Okay, so yeah, welcome to focus tab. I'm ready. I want to focus on UI. I complete UI. Now and I can refresh. All right, just testing some edge cases here. Complete it. I want to focus on feed the dog. Set my focus, refresh the page, create a new tab, and see feed the dog, refresh the page. Okay, so now we can have this set my focus running in the background. Okay, so these two are now done. The UI design. So really just left without this background being a, also shouldn't be able to set a empty focus. We're just going to check that it has a value, so we can't do this again. So I just want to display an alert when a user tries to add an empty focus. Okay, I like that. I like we got this mess show alert function. So just kind of add this into the top of the file. And so if there's no value, please enter a focus. Let's see if that works. I don't necessarily want to append it to main. So maybe append it to, just think about the structure of the HTML here, because the body has these attributes to it. So if we do cover container, they're prepend. Well, theoretically, that should work. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay. So we've added this show alert function, and we've added show alert. I want to add a success. Can I keep track of the number of tasks? How can I keep track of the total number of focus tasks completed that day? Tasks completed that day. Okay, so here I just want to add a info alert that tells the user, like, congratulations, today you've already completed X number of tasks. So ChatGPT suggests I put it in mark task as completed, which is actually this checkbox here, right? Okay, we got the confetti, and then we're gonna do in the mark task as completed, we're gonna actually do the show alert function as well. Okay, say show alert. Congratulations, today you have completed tasks. Congrats. Today you have already completed. All right, let's see how this works now. We got this plural issue. Okay, let's check that out. Let's just clear local storage. Done the UI. You've completed one task. Feed the cat. 2 tasks. Nice. So we have both of those. One thing we noticed though, when we cleared the console, was that we're getting both of these up again. So focus inputs by default display none. Let's just go through this early logic. So when we're loading, if welcome hasn't been completed, we display it block, and focus inputs style display should be set to none. Okay, let's see. Okay, so when you use it, we click I'm ready. We want to focus on UI. Set my focus. We complete the focus. We completed one task. We want to feed the cat. Set my focus. Feed the cat. And I think we say tasks today, because otherwise users are going to get mad when their tasks reset unexpectedly. All right. Today, if you already completed 3 tasks, well, there's already today in there, but we'll move today to the end so that we actually see it. Okay, so it seems like we have completed this top half, except for the changing background. Now, the changing background, this is an interesting one. Should this be every time we open a new tab, we get a different background? Or should this be really fixed? Should this be fixed throughout the day? So I'm thinking with the background is, given that we have, we don't necessarily want to redo all of this UI and CSS why don't we have it as a soft animated fade that changes? So if we just go to Google and we search for CSS changing generator. Oh, interesting. Nice. Okay, I'm liking this. This is good. Random. Interesting. And so we're kind of switching out the background size and number of seconds here. Okay, let's just check the GitHub. Very cool. I'm gonna keep it 24 seconds. Okay. Then I wanna change the angle of the linear gradient randomly every time the page is loaded, comma, and I also want to pick a set of random bright colors alongside varying the background size between 200 and 500%, 180 and 300, 360 it seems. Okay. So it seems, ensure we have the class gradient background. And so we're gonna add that here to the body. Then, okay, I'm gonna add a new function here. Okay. And then we're gonna say it's actually between 360 and 180. Okay. I think this looks relatively good. And then on the DOM content loaded, we're going to create a gradient background. Wow. The background doesn't seem animated though. Okay. Okay, so I guess we haven't included this. We haven't added this CSS appropriately. So let's add it here and try again. Okay, not getting the animation though. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we need to have some initial background set up to make the animation work, which we did not have previously. Let's just put this below here. Okay, that's animating. Awesome. So focus on now is completing the background. Okay, so I think that's that's the background completed. It is a little bright. How can we add a gray filter to the background to dampen the color slightly? There we go. Okay, that really fades it quite significantly. So I'm gonna add that to 0.3. I think that's quite nice. Focus on UI changes. One of the things that really annoys me is when I have a form and I press enter and nothing happens. So with this, let's now add that functionality. When I press enter, I want it to trigger the set focus button when I'm inside of the focus input. Okay, so it seems like I'm going to add this to the icebox too. That was completed. This is going to be press enter. And we did the background. So that's all of the UI tasks complete. Nice. Okay, so we feel like things are more or less there. Let's send our extension to the Chrome store and figure out what Google wants us to do before we submit for review. The permissions we've requested in our manifest.json, which, given how things have developed during us building this extension, may not be a complete set, or they may be too involved as a set of permissions. And some of the reasons for wanting to reduce the permissions we ask for are trying to get our extension published faster. The more permissions we ask for, the more involved those permissions are, the more extensive, the longer the team at Google are going to take to review our extension, and with greater diligence. So cutting down our requested permissions from users who download our app means that we can get our extension out faster and be more privacy conscious. Now I've completed my extension. How do I submit it to the Chrome store? Okay, we've tested it. Now we need to prepare the extension for publishing, which I can do just by creating a zip file. Done. I already have a developer dashboard. All right, so let's head to the web store developer dashboard. Okay, create a new item, go focus tab, uploading it. We're gonna select category. Okay, let's say workflow and planning. I like that. Okay, language. Doesn't really have a language, but we can just say English United States. Store icon. Okay, so we got to do screenshots, promo title, and so on. At least one is required. Okay, so let's just inspect here. Clear. Image size is incorrect. So it'll be 2080 by 800. That was pretty good. Nice. Okay. See this icon image. Try again. Okay, just do some edits to that icon. Be 128 by 128. See what else we got. We got to get justifications for host permission, remote code use. Interesting. So let's just go through those tabs. If you remember manifest, we're getting host permissions for the quotes, but actually we're not using that, so we can save that again. I can ask, does focus tab need the active tab permission? Okay, so we don't actually need active tab. So we can get rid of the active tab permission. So this is kind of minimizing what we'll need to the requirements we need. Remote code use. No, I'm not using remote code. Okay. Create the justification for storage as used by focus tab. What is focus tab's single purpose? Now we create and update a new package with the appropriate permissions. Okay, save draft. Let's see. Great. Well, now that we've reduced the permissions required, we actually don't need to do anything more before we can submit for a review. So let's do it. Boom. Okay, fantastic. We're done. We've submitted that extension for review. And generally, I found that that can take maybe 1 or 2 days, especially using that last bit where we condense the permissions required by the extension down to the minimum needed, which means that the review by Google will be much faster. And from privacy standpoint, we're not using or requesting any data from the user that we don't need, which also means users are going to be more likely to download and install the extension rather than having a, I'm not sure I want to give these permissions type of moment. Now, incredibly, just 6.5 hours later, the extension was published in part due to us removing those extra permissions that might have needed more review. So we've just created our own momentum-like Chrome extension. And part of the reason why I relied so heavily on ChatGPT rather than other knowledge about programming is just to show you how easy it is to be inspired by something on the internet and to work alongside ChatGPT to make your dreams a reality. And I don't particularly like the clock on Momentum. So this version doesn't have a clock, and the backgrounds are simple gradients rather than distracting or inspiring imagery that might lead me down a rabbit hole. It's that time for me to ask you to hit the like button and subscribe, turn the notification bell on, and slam us a comment with what you're inspired about. All right, we'll catch you in the next video. Keep creating.